And this is a super exciting night because it is the very first time that we've ever had any public programming inside. And it's our second in-person salon. We've been doing these salons for quite a while now. Most of them have been on Zoom. And I'm so glad to actually see the people that are joining us for the night and see your faces, or part of your faces. So thank you for being here with us. Before we get started, I want to thank a couple of people. First off, Mass Cultural Council, who awarded us with a fabulous grant that has made it possible to pay all of the artists that you're going to see on stage tonight. As well as continue to keep these salons free for all of you to join us. So thank you so much to Mass Cultural Council. Thank you also to City Space for hosting us in their beautifully renovated blue room. I imagine this is the first time many of you have been here. It is just a gorgeous room to be in, and we've had the pleasure of hanging out in here for the last 2 nights, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But thank you so much to City Space for hosting us. And last but not least, I want to thank all of you, once again, for joining us tonight. As I said, this is sort of a monumentous occasion for us being inside with all of you. Thank you for wearing your masks so that we can keep us all as safe as possible. And at its core, PIC is about community, and that means all of you. So I thought we could just take a second to turn to your neighbor. If you don't know them already, say hi. If you do, say hi again. So now everybody knows each other really, really well. We're all community members. We're all here together. Thank you for doing that. And I'm amazed that you actually all talk to each other.
The power of it's what we all need.
Yes. So if you're new to Play Incubation Collective, I wanted to just tell you a little bit about who we are. We are really a community impact organization, and the way we impact our community is through the lens of theater. More specifically, we focus on developing new work that cultivates conversation, gets people talking, things that we haven't seen before, stuff that we don't see nearly enough on stage. That's what we do. We serve this goal in a number of ways. One of those ways is through our quarterly salons. You're at one tonight. And you'll get to know a little bit more about what that means in a minute. We also have mini residencies, which you'll also learn about tonight, because tonight is the culmination of our very first mini residency of a musical. And we have a yearly, once a year we do a 9 to 12 month long deep dive residency. This year, our artist in residence is Aria Nune Acevedo. And we are helping to develop her very, very new play called Return to Abya Yala. And you'll hear a little more about that tonight as well. We do, at the end of the show, there is an open mic. If you have work that you'd like to present 5 minutes of, a little snippet of, it can be anything, music, monologue, whatever you'd like. There is a form over there to sign up. That's one of the other things about the salon is that it's not just about the curated work you'll see tonight, but as I said, we're all part of the same community, so we invite you to join us on stage for that. We also will be sticking around at the end if you have any questions about the work that we do at PIC, and we'll be telling you throughout the night a little bit more about how to get involved and more details about what it is that we do here. And now I will pass it over to Sarah, who will tell you all about how tonight's going to go.
So, as Rachel said, we do these salons quarterly. This is our spring salon, and we see these salons really as an opportunity for a community space and for everyone to be involved, and really to create a space, a really supportive, developmental space for brand new work. There's not really that many spaces like that, and we feel that that's incredibly important to keep the arts vibrant, is to provide public spaces where artists can bring something and share it for the very first time. And you, as the audience, get that just like delighted, exciting feeling of being in the room where these words are being spoken aloud for the first time. And if you know, I imagine all of you have been in rooms like that before. It's a really powerful feeling. So tonight you're going to see 3 very, very different pieces of work. We have a solo singer-songwriter music piece. We have what developed as a solo show that now is maybe turning into a 2-person show piece that you'll see. And then the final piece is it will be a scene and a song from a brand new musical. They're all super exciting pieces, and at the end of each of those pieces, we'll be facilitating a little feedback session, and we'll tell you more about that when we get to the feedback, but we invite you as the audience to be involved in that feedback, in giving your feedback and asking questions to the artists. And I think we're ready to go. Oh, turn off your phones. And there's bathrooms. There's one in the back there, and there's one out there.
There's 2 out in the front.
Yeah. But it's a quick show. You'll be fine. So I am very pleased to welcome Emma Ayres. You are in for a super treat. Emma is Pioneer Valley, born and bred, and has not performed live in a long time. So we're so excited.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be here. It's sort of daunting to stand in front of an audience. I don't want to lament we're constantly hearing I haven't performed in 100 years, but truly, it feels that way. I have not been on stage for 3 years, which is wild because it was such an intrinsic part of my life. I guess a question I want to ask you before I play is, how do you feel and what comes up for you when you listen to this song? So much feeling is coded in metaphor, and that's sort of what I write through. And I'm not going to tell you what this is about, but I'm curious to know what you take away. So this is a little tune called Milk Tooth. One street town, I'm wanting more. Moon like a grapefruit on the porch, or noise fighting this civil war. The devil told me I was born a girl. All I ever did was lose you. Build and tear the tower down. Oh, the days of my misspent youth. Never could pull my milk tooth. Never could pull my milk tooth. Holy woman said I deserve what I want, so I told her what I want is you. You're the only chance I got to build my sorrow into someone new. Sorrow ain't got nowhere to hide, can't hide this shifting heart of mine. Broken rhymes and great divides, her hands were my lifeline. Taught myself to hold my lips in place. Smile on my face doesn't mean I'm trying. Hail that Mary full of grace. Can't keep gambling for better timing. No, we can't keep gambling for better timing. Holy woman said I deserve what I want, so I told her what I want is you. You're the only chance I got to build my sorrow into someone new. Mama said she'd never say my name. God would turn his back again, so I learned to live with no refrain when I was only 17. Words had weight in my mouth for days. Take them out one by one while you stand and look amazed. Never realized what you had done. Never realized what you had done. I always said I deserve what I want, so I told her what I want is you. You're the only chance I got to build my sorrow into someone new. Holy Woman said I deserve what I want, so I told her what I want is you. You're the only chance I got to build my sorrow into someone new. 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 Holy Woman said I deserve what I want.
Will you say that question again, Emma, that you posted?
Yeah, I'm just curious, like, what you felt, and maybe the story or significance you took away. And I also want to recognize that some of us process not that quickly. So for me, like, I will sit with a song for, like, maybe even a year, and then the song teaches me something I never heard before, or thought to listen for. So I want to honor that.
So yeah,
It's very open. You can really say what you want.
Not the most articulate, but I would say it was the sense of grinning and bearing. Like grinning and bearing it, it's not really so much a feeling, but what it evoked for me is someone who wants to cry but laughs instead.
As I laugh, I'm like,
yeah.
Like a sensory image I got was maybe some vapor filling a jar.
mm.
Did you have anything?
Oh, yeah. As I was listening to the song, I was trying to fill in, like, sometimes I do this where I, like, try to fill in the next line. And I thought you were going to say, build my sorrow into something new. And it really stuck out to me that you said somebody new. And I just kept thinking about why that stuck out to me. And I guess maybe it's resonating with me right now because I think I'm feeling a lot of sorrow, but, like, it's like I'm thinking about what this is going to shape me into, you know? So, yeah, that's what I took away from it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So this is probably just because I see everything this way, but that song felt real trans. Like, the devil told me I was born a girl. Build my sorrow to someone new. There's a lot of dysphoria in there. Like, that's what I got from that.
I suppose I felt similarly, but specifically the milk tooth to me sounded like the things that are imposed on you as a child that you're trying to shake off and emerge from in your own way, which I suppose could be, as Toby described it, or it could play out in any number of ways. But that's really what felt like the overarching theme to me.
Jasmine.
I think, well, first off, I want to say, like, I haven't gotten to hear you sing before, and I really love the quality of your voice. Like, your So, there's that, and then, the song really resonates with me. From the moment you, like, started playing it, and you're like, devil told me I was born a girl, and I was like, alright. And then you hit that line, about, like, my mom won't say my name, and so, and then you just the continued like metaphors throughout the song, and just every moment of it was just really beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
commitment and drive in it. Like, similar, I think, to the grin and bear it component, but it's not, for me, it was like, but I'm gonna do something with this. Here's another example of some shit. And perhaps for me it was in those moments of, where it got like that instead. Good thing with theater. That's right.
Yeah, no, I
You know what I'm saying?
I do,
So,
yeah.
I think there was both that tenderness of like, here's a tender metaphor, quiet truth, and now I'm gonna get loud about what I'm gonna do with that. So I appreciated that.
Ellie,
Yeah.
two more.
I personally really love like the nuance of the phrase "build my sorrow into someone new," also just like constantly repeating, but like you're saying it differently every time. That really is beautiful. But also like that phrase felt like this like desperation where you're like, this is the only chance I have. Like you're grasping onto another human being to be like, I'm so sad, but I need you to like help me turn that sorrow into something. Right? Like I just felt like that was really powerful. So I just like that phrase repeated. Yeah, really powerful.
Yeah, I'd reiterate that. It's a very moving song. Desperation, someone who's desperate to be loved. You know, it's an obvious thing, but and beautifully constructed. I thought it was wonderful and gorgeous voice.
All right, we have time for two more. And you're gonna
Yeah, I did, which was beautiful. As everybody's saying, I love the metaphor of milk tooth because it sort of speaks to sort of childhood puppies that have milk teeth and they're really sharp, but they don't bite, they don't break the skin. You know what I mean? And so there's something lovely about that as sort of an opening metaphor and what the song was kind of based on. Go ahead.
So there's also a lot of hope as like, and I feel like in that last metaphor of build my sorrow into someone new, I feel like that can relate to anyone that's ever felt discriminated, or like it speaks to a wide range of people, and especially speaking as a queer man. It's like that's what I've been doing all my life. So, and I feel like that can resonate across more than just one identity. There's a lot of intersectionality in there, so it was gorgeous.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate your feedback. Like, I think sometimes songwriting, like any sort of form of art, it's like the like age-old sort of like adage of like if a tree falls in the clearing, there's no one to hear it, like doesn't actually make a sound. So I'm just like yodeling away in Williamsburg, Massachusetts. Will anyone understand what I'm trying to say? And so it's really beautiful to hear all of your own personal interpretations and hear what like catches your ear and like where and how meaning is made like across a room full of people in so many different ways, and how one phrase can mean so many different things based on your own lived experience. It's just really, it's reminding me of like the power of a song and what it can be and represent, and how like amorphous it can like it can be and exist in a space. So thank you so much. I really appreciate this. This is so encouraging and exciting because I miss you. I miss you all. And it's so good to sing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So next we have Anne Evelyn with her piece. Is there any play? My Lisa. And she's going to be joined by Michael Plunkett. And I'll leave it to you to tell us a little bit about what we're going to see.
Great. You know, I feel like this is like a magic line. Like you can take your mask off and I'm that's the magic line. It's great to be doing live theater. I love what you guys are doing. And during the pandemic, a couple of things happened. One is I narrated Little Women as an audiobook for
for Allison Larkin Presents, but also during that whole time, knowing that domestic violence was on the rise was that the pandemic was a particularly dangerous time in a lot of households. Just wouldn't leave me as the pandemic went on, and these thoughts were happening as I was narrating Little Women. So I thought maybe I could write a solo show about domestic violence and Little Women. So the setup that you're going to see is I conceived of the show as a one-woman show, but it's looking like it might be a two-person show. But through the magic of Micah Plunkett, she's going to be talking to herself a great deal. And let me know how it works. But
Yeah, let us know how it works.
So the setup is you will see the last two scenes of the play. And the story hinges on a woman named Valerie who is literally stuck to a spot on the floor at 8 a.m. trying to get out of a dangerous marriage. And she clings to her favorite childhood book, Little Women, as some sort of something that she can hold on to in her life. And she has many, 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 many conversations with a Louisa May Alcott who lives in her head. So the central dramatic question of the play, I think, is will she leave? But along with that is can she leave? And also the question that so many people facing domestic violence face is why do you stay? As you're watching this, I sort of prefaced this earlier, but I conceived of the show as a solo piece, but it may really actually be a two-hander, but it may not. So see how you think about it, and I wonder what you think of Louisa and Valerie's dynamic and the ways they relate to one another. I realize that this is the last two sort of scenelets of an hour-long solo piece, but I think you'll be able to follow along. All right, take it away.
And I'm going to read the stage directions.
Oh, yes, there
Anne, don't believe me.
I'm just kidding. You can
Scene 13, the lethality assessment. Pamphlets fall onto the stage pell-mell. They're really coming in now, darting from every direction, paper airplanes.
What is this? Nothing. They come regularly.
Pamphlet comes flying in and jabs Louisa.
They're very much making their presence known. Ignore them. How long have you been getting these? I know, right? Crazy. Everywhere I turn, there's another, and oh, another. This getting into the house thing is new, though. Do you read them? It's just pamphlet stats. Boilerplate. Valerie. Boilerplate. Maybe you should pay attention. Why is it that you won't leave me alone? Valerie, listen to this. Domestic violence lethality screen for first responders. Lethality, Valerie. Can you just help me clean them up? Domestic violence lethality screen. A yes response to any of questions 1 to 3 automatically triggers the protocol referral. Protocol referral? It's just what happens when they, when. Boilerplate, I told you. 1, has he, she, they ever used a weapon against you or threatened you with a weapon? 2, has he threatened to kill you or your children? 3, do you think he might try to kill you? Leave it, please. If you'll answer the questions. 1 is yes. 2 is yes, he was just talking. 3 is, maybe you don't remember the question. 3, do you think he might try to kill you? No, I don't think I don't.
Pamphlets fall to the floor in greater numbers.
If responses to questions 1 through 3 are negative, but subject gives positive responses to at least 4 of questions 4 to 10, the protocol referral is also triggered. Let's go then. Questions 4 to 10. Louisa, please. I don't want to. 4. Does he have a gun? Or can he get one easily? Maybe. I don't know. This is America. Who can't get a gun easily? 5. Does he control most of your daily activities? No. Don't look at me like that. He doesn't. 6. Have you recently left him or separated after living together or being married? Okay. Yes. 7. Is he unemployed? I can answer that. Yes. 8. Has he ever tried to kill himself? It was just, it was a long time ago. 9, does he follow or spy on you or leave threatening messages? That's a clear yes. Shut up. 10, has he ever tried to choke you? No. That's a no, okay? We're good. Satisfied? Back to question 3. Please stop. Question 3, please. Number 3, do you think he might try to kill you? I don't know. I don't think he was serious. I don't know. Valerie, I think you do. Sometimes what? No, not sometimes. Sometimes before. All the time now. Especially now, because I'm leaving. I'm leaving. He won't. He can't let me leave the marriage. He'd rather see me dead. He'd rather see me dead.
An ocean of pamphlets falls onto the stage in a single flood. The sound is deafening. Scene 14, a splendid Christmas day. Silence as Valerie surveys the pamphlets around her.
Louisa, we understand now. What a mess. This is danger. It's now. I'm so tired. I know you are, but the danger is now, the leaving time. Maybe I should just stay. You've already started. He knows you want to leave. I can always go back. Not once you've started. Can I lie down for a minute? You can. And then you need to get moving. I want my mom. What you have is me. But you're not real. Shh. Rest now. You have work to do. Soon. Very soon.
Val moves from her spot on the floor onto the bed.
There. I moved from my spot. Did you see me move? Well done, you're on your way. Louisa. Yes, dear. Will you read to me? Which part? The best part? It's all the best part. You know, you lie.
Louisa opens the book and reads.
Lovely weather so far. I don't know how long it will last, but I'm not afraid of storms, for I'm learning how to sail my ship. Come home, dear. Well, not bad. Will you stay with me, Louisa? I'm always here. No, not always. Shh. Here's more. From what part? The end. Yes. The second Christmas. Good girl, A+. But it's not a test. I don't like tests. Stay with me. The end of Little Women. The last time the March family has Christmas together before, that's right, just before the girls start to marry. One more passage and then we have to get moving, all right? You have to promise. I won't read unless you promise. I promise.
Louisa continues reading as the lights begin to fade. Little pieces of the pamphlets fall like snow. A sweet tune plays on Beth's piano.
Several days of mild weather fitly ushered in a splendid Christmas day. For everybody and everything seemed bound to produce a grand success. For like elves, they had worked by night and conjured up a comical surprise. Out in the garden stood a stately snow maiden crowned with holly, bearing a basket of fruit and flowers in one hand, a great roll of music in the other, a perfect rainbow of an Afghan round her chilly shoulders, and a Christmas carol issuing from her lips on a pink paper streamer. I love the snow maiden. She's right outside, you know. All the beauty. She wants you to go out. It's cold out. I'm scared. Her and many, many others just outside the door. You must keep moving. I don't know if I can. I don't know if you can't. What's he going to do? Come along with me. We'll go together. I don't know. Come along. I don't know.
Her hand on the doorknob. Val, Louisa repeat their last lines as the lights fade to black. End of play. According to data released in 2017 by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, an average of 137 women across the world are killed by a partner or family member every day. The home is the most likely place for a woman to be killed.
Actually, the thing that I'm most interested in right now from all of you, I realize this is heavy, but what popped? Like, what was the place where you stood up and were really interested, you as the reader and you in the audience? Or what were the places that sort of jarred you in ways either the writing made you uncomfortable or the story made you uncomfortable? But I'm interested, like, what were the most noticeable moments?
I think the repetition of question 3 was really impactful. That whole section. Also, the acting was amazing.
Yeah.
That was just
God bless you all. That's enough. But you have good words to read, yeah?
so that really popped for me.
For me, it was the visual metaphors you so good at those out. But I just was so excited to see it on stage, the kind of the pamphlets falling and the pamphlets turning into snow, and the fact that these two things are layering on top of each other is very powerful.
They're actually a leitmotif that sort of runs through the play, and that it opens with a single pamphlet coming to the ground, and Valerie keeps ignoring them, and then finally, kind of like ripping off in Harry Potter, kind of like the opposite. She can't ignore them anymore. That's you.
I found myself feeling mesmerized as I kind of relaxed into the experience of having one person have a continuous dialogue. And so as I was feeling kind of lulled, then I would remember this person is potentially facing death. And so that's what was jarring, was feeling mesmerized and lulled, and then also remembering the stakes of the situation.
For me, it was her mental state. Like, you're asking the questions, and she's like, well, I don't know, but maybe, like, that powerful, like, fear, but, like, hope to leave, but, like, the way you responded, every question we were like, well, yes, no, yes. Like that whole emotional roller coaster for every question was really powerful for me. The body language, too, a little bit.
I also found the questions to be really powerful because I think it gives the audience or people who aren't who don't know much about domestic violence or don't have experience with it to understand or come close to comprehending why it's so hard for people to leave. You know, that question always comes up, well, why don't you just leave? And it's that I think that was really effective in showing that it's never that simple, it's never that easy, and there's so much to battle with in making such a big choice.
And the questions are drawn from an actual lethality assessment that
Yeah.
a number of police forces actually use around the country.
Brianna, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I'm processing, so I want to share something that I'm sitting with at this moment that I might change my mind about later, of course. But for me, there was a dissonance in having my imagination see two people and my ears see hear one person. And I fear the fracturing of someone in a victim role, and how I also think it's very it can work. It can also. Yeah, I'm really having trouble articulating. I saw a lot of potential and interest in seeing them as two bodies on stage and seeing those bodies live in two times, occupy two times. I saw choreography between them and relationship between them. And then every time I sort of reminded myself to consider it remaining as a one-person show, I became concerned about whether that was an easy choice to go into two people, and because I like seeing dresses on stage, or if I became like protective of this character and fearing that their mental state would somehow make them less worthy of them me being able to see them as rational, or like, you know, the things that victims of domestic violence are sometimes accused of with why didn't you leave? And this idea that maybe, well, you weren't stable, or you weren't strong, or you weren't, I became afraid of what that would be if one person was speaking to himself on stage.
Would you like to keep hearing about this particular question, or do you want to move on to something else?
Well, that feels like a good segue to, I mean, I wondered, like, even just a show of hands, or like, would you prefer seeing this as, or just from what little you saw tonight, as a two-hander, or do you kind of like the solo show aspect?
Why don't we start with solo? Do you prefer it as a solo piece?
What if it was both?
I
don't know how to vote on
Yes.
this.
Yeah. Right, I'm sorry, maybe that's a tall order.
It's a good question. Well, it's just a hard question.
Yeah.
Because I love the idea, the solo thing is, I love the idea of her, she winds up ultimately saving herself, right?
Yes.
You know, and I like the empowerment of that. But
Do you want to keep asking that prompt? Okay, so option 2, if you would prefer to see it as two separate people.
Wait, distinction. Two different actors
Two
or
different
two different
actors.
people? Okay.
First, we'll try again. First question.
Okay.
One actor playing both roles. We're going to give 3 options. Option 2, two actors playing separate roles. And a third option is, we'll put it in one, either undecided or you could see it going either way.
Can I add a fourth option?
yeah.
I'm just really curious. My first impulse is curiosity about what happens if sometimes it's two and sometimes it's one.
Yeah, same here.
Which is actually what you were talking about.
That's mine too.
Yeah. Or
A thought, what if it was still her? What if it was just maybe to make it easier for like another actor to play like her character, like a younger version of her or an older version of her that was helping her through these questions?
That's what I was seeing.
Yeah.
I saw it as because I was hearing it, but I kind of just like looked away, and I was just seeing two people, but it was the same person. And how you cast that, you know, I think you can go so many different ways, but I always saw it as the same person, just two bodies, because I think that lends itself to a lot of interesting artistic choices.
Right, and especially if she's stuck, if one character is stuck to her point on the floor and the other one is having all sorts of movement.
Just on this, it just seems like the reason that you're having kind of this ambivalent notion is that it seems the construction of how you have it, you haven't quite decided. So that's why it feels like we can't decide, because you haven't decided in the piece. There are times when that works really strongly, and times when it doesn't really work as the two things. So it seems like the piece is waiting for you to make up your mind.
Okay, I didn't know if we could see because Paul has it.
They didn't see it.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
I was just saying we have time for either Ezekiel to answer or one more question that you want to get a couple of responses for. What would you?
I think this is feeling sort of fruitful.
Okay, great.
I was just gonna say I felt drawn to the one character being really rooted to the floor. That was something that really stuck with me, and I was struggling but interested in thinking about how the same performer could also be moving, because it felt like Louisa would really be moving around the space to me. So I was sort of interested in thinking about how they could be one person, because I also felt like the desire for two people, but I also felt like it was like, I don't know, there was something of having like this fictional person coming in and like being physically embodied felt almost like less serious to me in some way. Like there was something that felt like, I don't know, quippy about it differently, and I felt like if they were one person somehow, but also the person could have like agency to move as both characters or be rooted and move in some way. I don't know yet, but I like have a desire for it to be one performer, but in a complicated way somehow.
Right, because it seems tricky if Louisa shows up in full 1869 regalia.
Just facially.
We take these next two responses and then we'll have to.
Really quick, I mean, just going off what Ezekiel was saying, maybe there's a way to just like leverage tech in the spirit of creating like sort of like multitudinous versions of this character, like projection, voiceover. Like, is there a way that you could really like utilize those kinds of resources to like multiply those voices, but keep it like singularly focused on this entity? That's what, yeah. This entity, if you will, this entity. Well, this character, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually similar to where I was thinking, because initially I was thinking, well, you could have it be two people and maybe with costume and lighting make the other person seem more of like in a headspace rather than physically there. But maybe even if you just had a spotlight rather than a second person. I think lighting can really contribute to that, because having it as one person also I think there is a degree of like dissociation from the situation, and so having to switch back and forth between the voices also helps you see that like she's there but she's not really there.
I know that was supposed to be the last answer, but I was also ruminating because I don't know. I think it's powerful and has so many possibilities, but I was also thinking that there's something delicious about being able to articulate escapism through like giving yourself a whole nother person. You know, I don't know. I think there's meat in that, but I think it could be done so many beautiful ways. I love a bit of choreography and I love a lot of costumes, so two humans sounds good too. So I don't know.
Yeah, but the solo, I mean, one of the hallmarks of domestic violence is that the person is often so incredibly isolated. That's sort of again, so I wrestle with it and I don't have an answer. I'm out of time. But
We could continue talking about this for a long time, it seems. Thank you so much for sharing your piece with us.
So before I welcome up our next performer, creator, Ellie Brigida from Boston, I want to frame the flame. I want to frame what we've been doing for the past 2 days, which is that Rachel and I were really fortunate to have virtually connected with Ellie and hear about this super exciting queer musical that she was developing, and got just very jazzed about how we could possibly support this. And so we created a mini residency, which is essentially like a really kind of fast, like mini lab for this new work. So Ellie chose one scene and one song from the musical, and she'll tell you a little bit more about that. And we gathered a cast, and we spent the last 2 nights in this space with the cast and the lovely direction of Gina Kaufman, and we're able to dive into the play a little bit. And we hope that this is just the first of many future opportunities to get to develop this work. And it's really, really exciting for all of you. This project is also a podcast, a full podcast musical, but you are the first live audience to ever experience it. I'll bring Ellie up to introduce it, and I welcome all our actors to come up, because there are a lot of folks that we have to introduce you to.
Hi, everyone. I'm very excited to be here today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the flame. I have in my opinion, heartbreaking statistic that is that 5% of LGBTQ stories on our screens end in a happy ending, which is a very low number. So that means 95% of them are depressing as well, right? So it was our mission for the flame to create a romantic comedy, podcast musical, full of queer joy. It is very rom-com centric. And so I'll tell you a little bit about the story as a whole, because this is one scene a little bit later in the musical. I also want to say that I didn't write the flame all by myself. I have to shout out the rest of the creative team, which is Lee Holmes Foster, Caitlin Clear, and Valerie Rose Lohman, who are the part of our writing team. And a big thank you to our director, Gina Kaufman, who brought out such incredible things in our actors and the piece. I want to say thanks to Gina. So I'll tell you a little bit about The Flame. It tells the story of 2 women, Jamie, and I'll tell you who's playing everyone. So I will be playing Jamie, a queer bar owner, and Sam, played by Kyle Boatwright. Where are you, Kyle? Yes. Sam, who is the woman selling the building the bar inhabits, and the inevitable sparks that end up flying between them. With the help of her best friend Heather, not in the scene, sorry, that's the only character that's not here, and bar regular Joe, played by Emma Ayers. Yes. Can the residents of the Flame keep the bar alive? Or can Sam's friend Mel, played by Trenda Lofton, help her work through her complicated feelings about her father's death in the building she grew up in before she makes a rash decision? We start this particular scene at the Juicy Crab. Do we want to get maybe set up, or where's Sam? Where is Sam? Sam is having dinner with Harold, played by Tobias K. Davis, a developer who wants to buy the building the Flame inhabits, and Jamie, played by me, is having dinner with her ex, Rachel, played by Rachel Everidge, to get closure and start a new relationship with Sam, played by Kyle. At this point in the story, Sam and Jamie are in puppy love, but Sam and Jamie have no clue that they will both be at the Juicy Crab. And Maggie, our server,
played by Jasmine Rochelle Goodspeed, and our narrator, played by Craig Pinder, are very invested in all of the couples involved. So let's see what happens in our scene.
What has this world come to? What kind of restaurant doesn't have a 2-page wine menu?
A chain restaurant?
I hate chain restaurants. Where's the flair? The originality?
So, you picked the juicy crab because...
You seemed like the type of woman to enjoy fish.
It is so great to have you guys back!
Aw, Pumpkin, they gave us our usual table.
Of course, as far away from the kitchen and the vents as possible. How could I forget?
You are such a doll. Aren't they just the cutest, Jamie? We'll take our usual bottle of wine and some extra bread.
You got it. And I'm sorry, I have to ask, but it's policy now. You do have your EpiPen with you, right?
God, this is embarrassing, but yeah, I do.
Awesome! Well, we added a few new options to our menu. Be sure to check those out, and I'll be right out with your bread.
This is the making of a disaster.
Jamie, don't you love this necklace that Amber sent to me?
It's beautiful.
Sapphires, your favorites.
Your favorite.
Our favorite.
How is Amber doing?
She's still stuck in Mongolia.
She's not stuck. She fled to a country with no extradition treaty with the U.S.
I know. She's so brave.
Where is Maggie with that wine?
The original owner wasn't charging what they should have for rent. What an idiot! So, once I tripled it, I got my money back in less than 5 years. And yeah, that's the first building I flipped.
Wow.
It's just silly. People don't know how to fix places up anymore. All you need to do is kick out a few unsavory people, add a gym, and bam, you're in business.
What exploited thing is he bragging about now?
Would you like me to help you all?
Well, aren't you bold?
What? More wine for the both of us, please. You got it.
You are practically radiating with that smile of yours.
Thanks. I guess it's just been a good night.
Really?
Well, my favorite customers came back in today. They haven't dined here in a while.
Oh, sounds like there's a story there. What do you think, Sam?
Probably one that's not either of our business.
Well, I love dinner and a show. Tell us more.
They used to come in almost once a week. And they would always, Miss Parker would always leave a big tip because her girlfriend was kind of a complicated diner. Anyways, last time they were here, they got into a huge argument. And we haven't seen them since. But it looks like they're back together now.
Doesn't a romantic story like that just make your heart sing?
Sure.
You know what? Send the happy couple a bottle of wine from us.
That's so nice of you.
I just love.
Someone give him an Oscar! Is this my punishment? Watching this train wreck and not being able to do anything about it? At this point, we're gonna need a miracle.
What's the plan again? Get one of them to leave without seeing the other one, since neither of them want to answer their phone.
What's the big deal? They're both having dinner with other people. It's not a crime.
These two have been too lost in puppy love to actually communicate with each other. And Sam has been cheated on one too many times for her to find her ex. No, Jamie having dinner with her ex.
And if Jamie sees that sack of shit Harold, With Sam, she'll definitely flip.
Wait, you know Harold?
Oh, he's the reason I've had to move office spaces twice. Asshole always raises the rent way too much.
Wait, Rachel? Is that Rachel?
You know Rachel? Oh, sorry to hear that.
We had a mutual friend, and then that friend fled the country, so we don't really see each other anymore. Thankfully. All right, I'm gonna go in. You go and cause a distraction. I'm gonna go over and talk to Jamie and Rachel. Hey! Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
A very nice patron has bought you this bottle of wine to celebrate. Celebrate your relationship. Everyone is just so happy about you getting back together.
Oh, we're not.
Like I said, while I appreciate the invitation, I haven't changed my mind. I'm not selling.
Oh look, the happy couple has gotten their wine. They look so cute.
Good for them. Are you listening to me?
Oh look, they're looking at us.
Sam, please do not turn around.
They're right over there. Jamie Bear, don't be rude. Wave at them.
Rachel, we're not getting back together. This was supposed to be about us getting closure, me getting closure. And instead we've talked about your new jewelry business with Amber, which honestly sounds like a money laundering scheme.
We will talk about our relationship after you thank that nice couple looking at us.
Fine.
Shit. Jamie?
Sammy.
I've gotta go.
Sam, stop.
Don't forget to email the contract. Lovely doing business with you.
Jamie, where are you going?
Far from this hellhole, Rachel.
What is going on with you? Hellhole? We were having such a lovely night.
We weren't. This night has been horrible. Just like most dates with you. I hate the juicy crab. Everybody take half to wonder if it'll be my last.
Okay. You're being dramatic, Jamie, now.
I have a shellfish allergy. A severe one. Which you never cared about. Or me, really.
Don't be silly. Pumpkin, of course I care. Let's just go back inside, grab that nice bottle of wine, and go back to my place. We'll start over there.
No, I don't want to start over with you, Rachel. I was hoping this night would give me closure, which I guess it did in a weird way. I realized that you've always been the problem, not me. There's not enough room in any relationship with you because you'll always put yourself first.
I love and respect myself. You should try it.
I am. For the first time in a long time, I am. And that means leaving you behind. Goodbye, Rachel. Have a nice life.
Jamie! Jamie,
Sam!
Come on,
Sam,
just wait a second. We need to talk. There's nothing to talk
It's
about.
not what it looks like.
Yeah, I've heard that one before.
No, really, that was just Rachel.
Rachel, your ex-fiance, Rachel?
No, I mean, yeah, but she was never my fiance.
No, you just loved her to want to spend the rest of your life with her.
That was a year ago. Things changed. I changed. I learned how to want more for myself. Tonight was all about me getting closure, so I could start a new relationship with no hang-ups.
Right.
Well, what were you doing with Harold?
You know Harold?
Of course I know him. He's single-handedly gentrifying the neighborhood. He was sniffing around trying to get your dad to sell about a year ago. Your dad hated him.
You failed to mention that.
Yeah, because he's shady and wants to turn everything into some squeaky clean, posh place. You're not still considering selling the building, right?
And if I was? Were you just pretending to like me because of the bar?
Of course not. I really like you.
You don't even know me! God, I'm such an idiot!
You're not. These last 5 days with you have been the best I've felt in forever. And that's because of you.
Jamie, if I sold the building, would you still want me?
Sam, that's not fair.
Great. Here's my answer then.
It's not like that, but you selling the building because you're mad at me?
I am selling the bar because it is a reminder of what a coward and a failure of a daughter I was. And for one
stupid moment, I thought that I could be part of something my dad built. That I could be part of this safe space that he created for me, not even knowing that I desperately needed it. But as usual, Sammy doesn't get what she wants.
Sam, you can still be a part of this. This is still your community. You always have a place here. And with me, if you want it.
Not anymore.
I know we've only just met, and it's been a roller coaster, but I know I could love you someday. Someday really soon. I want to love you, Sam.
I can't do this, Jamie. Our lease agreement stands as it is. Bye, Jamie.
Where did you go? That lobster tank is practically bulletproof. And I paid Jamie's bill. Don't want to bail her out again anytime soon. Why?
So we're going to do a song from the show as well. It's called Maybe Today. This is the reprise. So the song occurs earlier in the show. Jamie sings it alone, and now this is Sam and Jamie singing together. This is their falling in love moment.
Ever since I was young, I've been fearing the day my father would learn that the life for me wasn't right for me, and he'd finally see the truth. I always wondered if I found the right girl, would I be brave enough to tell the whole world? Could I learn how to be honest? Find my way out of the closet? And how long could I stand to wait? Maybe today I'll find the one. Maybe today my search will be done. She'll take my hand and she'll help me be brave. Could be tomorrow or maybe, just maybe today. Someone to believe, someone to break down the walls, someone who would see, someone who won't let you fall, someone to be there with you till the end. The one
a little tricky because it's a selection and there's a lot of exposition that comes before this, but what weren't you able to understand? Maybe let's start positive. What about the story captivated you the most? And then we can do what weren't you able to understand. So what about the story captivated you the most or popped out like a lot of people have been asking?
I love the multiple narrators, like all invested in this relationship. I think there's so much juiciness in that. It's exciting.
I mean, that was a snippet, yeah. So,
Yeah.
so it's like hard, but I love characters that you love to hate. So I personally thought they were both tasty and fun, right? So that's good.
I love that even from the small snippet, you could still like understand who the characters were and where like they were going to come from and where like you kind of have a sense of where they were going to go. But I don't know, I really enjoyed the scene, although I didn't know a lot about this whole thing. So. Yeah, other, either characters or moments or just like feelings that popped or resonated for you and just seeing the scene or
the song.
Yeah.
Beautiful song.
Yeah.
It's like very, very, like the harmonies is very lovely, very happy to the point of like, yeah, career films and plays don't really end nicely, and it was very touching and very well written.
I think your processes.
Yes, I was just gonna say that because of that, because most queer stories end in tragedy, it's kind of like, oh, okay, this is bubbly and it's happy. It's like, what is this new world? Which speaks to the power of like the story and the power of the idea. It's quite refreshing.
I also like the sitcominess of it.
Yes.
I could sense from when you said that and just from the snippet, you could see, like, I could frame it out as like a Will and Grace episode, except,
Yes.
yeah, I thought that was really cool. Just from the snippet, it feels like it really permeates, especially with the narrator, and yeah. What do you mean? He said.
Yeah. Cool. So I guess what weren't you able to understand in the scene? Or were there any things that you couldn't get from just seeing it?
Yeah, I don't know if I just kind of spaced out when you were introducing the play, but I wasn't sure who the narrators were and what their relationships were with the characters. So I kept trying to figure that out and see if I could hear and piece it together, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. But maybe that's answered in other parts of the show, and just not the snippet you showed.
Yeah, that's the thing about it. Like, there's definitely, you'll know who they were by this scene.
Right.
But yeah.
I'm behind the pole again. I think Trenda and Emma's characters were a little more confusing for me to place, and I also wanted, there was this sort of big moment of their entrance, like, oh, they're gonna, like, prevent, like, them recognizing each other, and then that really didn't, like, they didn't prevent it at all, and they saw each other really quickly afterwards, so I felt like I was missing, like, some more antics or something there, or, like, of them desperately trying to stop them. Like, I felt like there was, like, I was excited by the entrance, and then I was like, oh, they saw each other so quickly after that.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and then.
Oh, just really quickly, I keep being like building off of what Ezekiel was saying, actually. But I think I really resonate with what you're saying, and I think maybe Gina teased out kind of like this clownishness between these two characters, and there might be like I really love that idea of having some sort of like antics that are like inherently like clownish, where we are like trying to like stop the interact, but we like always fall short somehow or something. Like yeah. I like where you're going.
Maybe Maggie thinks that they're like getting in the way of their favorite couple in the universe and like keeps like blocking them.
Yeah. Or something like that.
Yeah, over here, and then like, yeah.
I wish I could remember the exact line of this. When the two of them are arguing right here, and there seems like a really easy answer to, that Sam,
Sam and Jamie.
yeah, Sam and Jamie are arguing. If I had the script, I could point right through it, but it seemed like there was a really easy answer, like, would you still sell the building? And she says, I don't know, or it was something
That's not
along the,
fair.
what was that?
That's not fair.
No, so would you still want me if I sell them?
That's what it is, would you still want me? And yeah, that's not fair. I was, it's like, of course I would. Like, because I don't know the character that well, but it seems like an interesting answer to a fairly easy question if they had been dating in puppy love for the past 5 days.
Yeah, but I think it's like it is more complicated.
It
than that, 'cause,
probably
like,
is,
The story is before this.
Yeah.
That like Sam is gonna sell Jamie's bar. That like means
Got
the
it.
world to
Yeah,
her.
okay, yeah.
Like is very much like
Your bar, oh, got it.
So it's like if
Which
Sam
is the
sold the
thing.
building, like okay, yeah, but you also like sold something that's so important to me. Like you know how important it is to her.
So it's context.
So yeah, it definitely is a context.
Yes.
thing.
Okay,
but
that absolutely makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a small desire in a scene with so many fun, character-driven people to have one straight man, to have like an anchor, you know, someone who represents me in the scene or something. You know what I mean? The watcher that watches it all fall apart or something.
Yeah.
Just. But is that what he is?
Was Harold not the straight man?
I don't think Harold's a straight man.
No, I feel like everyone is a character. You're right. There's not like a.
Like in my head, that's like it's the waiter. You know what I mean? Or some it's the incidental person who's like, what the hell's the matter with all these people? Just, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Makes sense.
A small side.
I was having trouble figuring out between Sam and Jamie the like class background aspects because that has like a huge power like impact, and I was having trouble figuring out where that was, which perhaps in a greater context would make more sense. And the other piece, and it's like a snippet, so it's hard to tell, but I was a little bit worried that it was starting to kind of lean into some of the tropes about like, I'm going to ask you and pursue you, and you're going to say no, but no actually really means I should keep pursuing you. And the failure to disengage when it seemed to be very uncomfortable made me uncomfortable to be seeing that pattern seeming to be playing out again.
Yeah, it's just a question actually, you know, because this is a podcast and not a play. I found myself hungry for the waiter characters to also be narrators. And I wonder, is it just sort of two narrators that are kind of driving the action, or do lots of people kind of narrate it, these kinds of incidental characters?
Yeah, I would say mostly in the show it's like the narrator character is narrating most of it. Like Maggie's only in this scene, really. Okay. So.
Something that I keep latching on to as we're listening is, I'm sorry, I lost my mask somewhere in here, so I'm breathing my droplets on people I know. But the use of the word narrator, right? And so, yes, we're going from podcast to stage for you right now, but also what keeps popping out to me is that, you know, Sam and Jamie are these very earnest characters in the midst of all of these, like, wacky human beings, and this is kind of how it is socially, right? Especially when something is circling around a bar and that hub, and a queer bar that's like, oh yeah, well, you know, that person over there did this with Harold over there, and then Harold sold the bar to her mom, and then her dad did this and that, and then his dad, blah, blah, you know, and so it's interesting to note how, like, narration works within a social circle, and that's what it was starting to feel like to me as somebody who was sitting in it, especially today now that we've chewed on it a bunch, that's a real thing for us socially. And I liked how it worked.
I kind of wanted to go back to your first question about what popped to me, and I found the setting really interesting, like the bar, you know, and how important it is. And I thought the two people that they were dating, that were on the date, the guy who kept buying everything, and I didn't, and the person that was just like all about themselves. I thought there were a lot of really interesting dynamics there that I think you find in like sitcoms or rom-coms, and like I think a lot about like Adam Sandler movies, and I always find it really interesting like rom-coms because they always have like a class issues on the surface level. Like the main villain is always like this cheesy like 80s like really rich guy who just is so unaware of himself, and then you kind of sort of like are rooting for the everyman, you know. And so I was kind of seeing a little bit of that dynamic playing in, and then something like a little more serious there to like sort of lay the groundwork for the comedy, which is like I guess I was curious why is she selling the bar, which is so important to her, and like what is it about the conditions in our society that like make it so that the everyday people who really need these physical spaces, and as we discovered during COVID, like we really need physical spaces to socialize like we're doing here today, and like what communities don't get to do that. I just thought that was like, there was so much there that I was like so invested in like hearing, and like it really stuck out to me that she said that this place was so important to her father and to her, and I was like, why is she getting rid of it? But it was like I could see so much potential for like making this antagonist and also like finding a lot of heart there, you know. Yeah,
I appreciate that. Yeah, and I do have little sheets out that you can scan. So I do hope you all listen to the show as well and like get that context, because we definitely dive a lot into that. And you could even hear in Sam's monologue, like Sam is also a queer woman, but she never came out to her father, and then her father left her the bar, like when he passed. So there's a lot of complicated feelings that Sam has about that we do explore pretty extensively. So I'm looking forward to getting to dive into that, and also I will be thinking as we're developing it, like where we can make that more clear and like really dive into that, because I think I agree with that.
I just had an idea. Okay, leaning into the villain thing, but do it in some way that doesn't like reinforce the like bisexuals or evil trope. But what if Harold and Rachel end up together?
Yes.
It's all about this song.
Yeah. That would be intense.
Think about the duet you could write.
A good duet. I guess one more question, which is just because you've only seen a snippet as well, like it could be that you answer this question in a way that we've already worked out in the musical, but I just would like to know, like from seeing that scene, some people have sort of talked about it, what would you like to see more of?
Can I ask a question to your question? I actually am unclear on if the goal is to create a stage piece or to enrich the podcast.
Yes, that's a very good question. So the goal is to turn the podcast into a stage piece. So this is the first time we're doing anything on stage, but the goal is to have it be a stage play.
That's
Yeah.
Kind of another follow-up question?
Yes.
How does music and song work in the podcast versus how you picture it working for the stage piece?
Yeah, I honestly think that will be one of the easier pieces, I guess, but really when we wrote the podcast, we wrote it with the intention that if you listen to it, you could envision it on stage. So really, like, you didn't get to see like how a song would happen on like in the terms of the script, but the songs really do happen in a very stereotypical musical way. So like the Maybe Today reprise, Sam and Jamie are having like a conversation, they realize they fall in love and they start singing, right? Like, yeah. Or like even in the first, actually the musical starts on a song,
and it's called Get Up Jamie, so it's like Jamie waking up to her alarm clock. So there's ways that I think if people also like listen to the show and also want to reach out after the fact, I would really appreciate that, because one of the bigger questions we have is like, what will work better on stage, or what could we get rid of from the podcast that will translate better onto stage, if that makes sense. So I think like with the music, I think we can have obviously more choreography and like actually visually get to see where everyone is. Like there's some big group numbers that you hear that will be really fun to do. Like there's an introduction to the bar the song's called The Flame, and it's just like people at the bar being like, this bar is the best, and we're so happy to be here. And then we get the eviction notice like right at the end of that song. So yeah, there's a lot of fun things I think we can do to transition it onto stage, but we definitely had like that in the back of our mind when we were writing it. I think there's maybe like 75% there where we need that 25% to really like translate it. So that's why this has been really awesome and important for me, because like you could see how it could really translate to stage, which is cool.
Having listened to the podcast, to answer your prompt of what do I want more of, as I was listening and then being a part of, and then sort of culminating and working on this scene, I was really craving more time with Jamie and Sam to really get to understand. This is a very short period of time that they know each other, and in the podcast, we kind of see, you can understand where the story is going, but I wanted more development of that relationship. If it's been 5 days and they're starting to fall in love, then I would imagine there's all kinds of interactions that they're having that are building to that point. So I definitely was craving more of that. And I also really wanted to know so much more about Harold, because Harold becomes this very integral piece of the story, and I feel like I didn't get to know him well enough to, like, what is his motivation really and involvement in this? I mean, in this scene we see he's like gossipy and he's kind of just into the fun of the drama, and maybe that's just part of his personality. But I wondered, is it actually like I'm hatching this evil plan so that I end up getting what I want, and so I want to play into that drama to make sure that happens? I wanted to know more about him, and we start to understand that a lot of these characters have a connection to him. So we hear little bits and pieces about that, but I wanted so much more of him.
Of course.
Who
wouldn't?
Spin-off musical.
Yeah.
So this is more like a directorial thing, of course, where like this is being workshopped and it's just a little snippet, but especially if this is a rom-com, something to consider is the story that we tell through movement. A lot of rom-com and a lot of what makes rom-com work are the unspoken moments. Like what is my character doing while this is happening? What like all the stage antics. If through the writing you can kind of sort of incorporate that, you definitely have a really winning idea. I can really see this translating into like an on-stage rom-com, and you even see it in rom-coms on TV. There's a lot of movement that is inherent to the comedy, so something to think about.
Yeah. And I will say Gina did a great job with
Yes.
that. Because we've only rehearsed that for 4 hours. Well, probably not even 4 hours. We had 4 hours of rehearsal total. And we, like, playing around with the physicality definitely brought a lot of stuff out. I think we can do a lot more with that. So I appreciate that for sure.
Time for one last game.
Oh, does anyone else want
Go for it.
Okay, well, I guess building off of what was just said, I was thinking about the relationship that's only been there for 5 days, and I was trying to put myself on, like, this is a rom-com, but it was still like, oh, it's only been 5 days, and I guess I was thinking of, like, I was one of those kids in high school that hated Romeo and Juliet, and I was like, this doesn't make any sense, they kill each other, they do each other for, like, what, 2 days? But then, like, I did grow to appreciate the, like, show, but that was, like, after I had like a change in perspective of like I guess what I'm trying to get at is it might be a directing thing, or it might be something in the way you structure the play that reminds you as the audience to like step back and not take it so seriously. Like this is a rom-com, like this is just a story, and it's like a story for me to have fun and like not take something like that so seriously. So I don't know if that's like a staging thing or like, you know, what sort of mechanics you use to remind the audience of that, but I think to bring them out of that realism place is important for that.
Yeah, and that is like we're leaning pretty hard into the rom-com trope. So like these people have only known each other for 5 days and they're in love.
Yeah.
Maybe you should have a U-Haul in the
I was about to say
somehow it's like an Easter egg. It's like, where's the U-Haul?
Get a sponsorship from you all.
5-day lesbian relationship, that's like
Yeah, it's
3
pretty
years.
accurate.
It's fine. I mean, I listened to the whole podcast. I'm saying it's silly, but also I listened to the whole time. I mean, that's the trope.
Yeah.
Cool. There.
Great. Thank you all so much.
So this brings us to the open mic portion of our evening, and I believe there are 1 or 2.
Yeah, we have.
So we have, I think, 2 folks maybe that have signed up. Is there anyone who didn't get a chance to sign up for the open mic that would like to present something? And then you can also decide as it's going on. Are you still interested in? Sure. Yeah. So why don't you come up? Okay. Would you like us to move to the piano?
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Carrie Ferguson, and I'm completely new to this community. And since people, in the spirit of trying new things, I'm a songwriter also as well as a piano player. And I wrote a song recently in the last month or so. It's the first song for adults that I've written in a while, because I recently kind of made a switch to playing kids' music. So I thought I'd give it a try, so bear with me, there might be a few clunkers here. And I know that we're not officially doing feedback with the open mic part, but I would be curious about what people think about the meaning of the song afterwards, because I'm still trying to figure out if it's actually working. A ship of Vikings adrift at sea, a flat plateau of apathy. The captain is distracted with her maps. The crew has sunken into desperate naps. We dream of conquest, we dream of land. We are heroes in our fictional past. We used to rampage, pillage and explore, but things were never how we thought they were before. Mother of change, winds of grace, dazzling and strange. the sails flow. Help us to listen, help us to know. Mother of change, winds of grace, dazzling and strange. Show us your face, help us to move, make the sails flow. Help us to listen, help us to know.
This is called The Consort. It's about halfway done. This is the second time I've ever read any of it out loud to people. So. I'm going to tell you a story. It all comes to a head when one evening in early spring, my partner tells me he's met a dog he thinks he might adopt. And I find myself wandering around the neighborhood, weeping, as I picture Dean with a dog. At this point, Dean and I have been dating for 6 months, and I'm very, very into him. For one thing, Dean has a primal earthiness about him. As in, he forages mushrooms and can identify plants and knows how to butcher animals. As in, he harvests roadkill to eat and sometimes keeps the pelts, treating them himself. He catches dripping tree sap on his tongue and takes me on nature walks, saying things like, "This mushroom is called witch's butter, and its shape is basically a series of overlapping labia." Early on into dating Dean, I have to show him the soil that is perpetually underneath his fingernails and say to him, "If you want to put those fingers inside of me, you have to clean that out." Dean, unsurprisingly, is great with dogs, though he's never had one of his own. On a walk through the woods 5 months into our relationship, Dean tells me about a dog named Lobo he met on a farm who was unpopular with the other humans because he kept murdering chickens. But then Dean caught Lobo in the act and flipped him onto his back, pinned Lobo down with his knee, and made this sound. And after that, Lobo stopped killing chickens and wouldn't leave Dean's side. There's also something primal about the way Dean cooks. It's all cast iron skillets and chicken roasting with vegetables swimming in the bubbling fat. He chops with his full body. His knives are sharp. Eating his food feels fortifying. A shift has occurred inside me since meeting Dean, and 6 months in, I now make a point of walking barefoot in soil and lying naked in my backyard whenever the weather permits it. I now prefer to squat outside to pee rather than sit on a cold, hard toilet seat. I also feel compelled to eat more vegetables and learn how to cook meat because that's what it feels like my blood and muscles and organs want. To be clear, I continue to eat plenty of chips, pastries, and noodles because those also make my insides glow. Each night before bed, I am drinking infusions of chocolate mushrooms he foraged and texting him things like, "Just saw a dead raccoon on East Hampton Street, looks fresh." Whenever I feel dissatisfied with my job or unsure of my plans to apply to grad school for psychology, I wonder if I shouldn't just go live on a farm and learn to homestead. In the month leading up to Dean's text about the dog, this line of thought becomes increasingly frequent and serious. Considering the climate emergency, I think, shouldn't we all be learning how to live in harmony with the land? And I would feel so capable and handy. It would be thick and sturdy and full of skills. But then I think it's just a daydream. Where would I even start?
If it isn't clear already, I find Dean very sexy. Since our first date, when I led him through stretches on the floor of my bedroom, and then he asked if he could rest his head on my stomach, we have been obsessed with touching each other. He touches me as I imagine he touches the earth. One night when we are making love, I experience myself as a river, and he as a visitor to the river. He is reverential, respectful, focused. Sometime in the months leading up to meeting Dean, I am talking to my friend Carlotta, who has 3 children and a few grandchildren. I am talking about how I don't want children, and in fact, why would anyone ever want children? And Carlotta says, haven't you ever been with someone you can't stop screwing? You screw all the time and it just sort of happens because that's what your body wants? Carlotta's words come to me in the months after meeting Dean, whose scent makes me salivate and soften, whose voice when he sings makes me mesmerized and tranquil like a baby, whose breath when it fills my mouth and then my lungs feels nourishing and nutritious. My body longs to create a child with his material. Feels like an aching in my uterus. Once when he comes and it's not inside of me, I weep. I don't generally like men. Sometimes it's fun to be overly simplistic and say men are trash, but more deeply, I don't like the stories and rules we're told about boys and girls, and men and women, and I don't like when people don't critically examine those stories and rules. I don't like when men are not aware of their bodies in space or feel entitled to the space my body occupies. I don't like when they are managers at a job and use their position as a means of getting their emotional needs met from the women who work underneath them. The women have to either flirt back or act like daughters or sometimes a combination of both in order to stay in their manager's good graces. I don't like when men are subtly hostile when I refuse to cede my space or meet their emotional needs. I don't like when they are unaware that they are being subtly hostile.
Any other takers? One last call? No pressure. There'll be future salons. You can present us.
Oh my God, that was so exciting. Thank you so much, Carrie and Abby, that's like super great.
Woo!
It makes me very excited for future salons, because this is only our second live one, and I think people didn't do that one right the first time.
We had one open.
Oh yeah, that's right, we did, that's what we did.
But it's a tall order to ask people to come up and just present on the fly. So thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing really raw, new work with us. And that goes to for our other presenters as well. This is all, we're asking everyone to be so brave to get up here and present works in progress and then open up for a conversation with an unknown audience. So truly, I'm in awe of all of our presenters, including our folks in the open mics. Thank you.
It's really exciting, and it really speaks to the mission of what we're hoping to do, which is providing spaces for this, and it's so exciting to have that, as an artist, to have that space exist, and then you get motivated to like create more and bring it to the space, and so yeah, yay to everyone. In closing, we want to just give some more thank yous and tell you a little bit more about what is on the horizon. For PIC, we want to again super thank you to City Space and to MCC for the grants, to Nikki and to and to Milo. And as Rachel said at the top, these salons are meant to be free and accessible to everyone. We want that to continue to be the case, and we are also equally invested in continuing to pay artists for all the work that we do and really elevating the work of theater artists in this area. It's like a really big charge and mission of ours. So to that end, we want to tell you a little bit about multiple ways that you can support our work moving forward.
First and foremost, I think many of you saw on your way in, there's a little QR code. If you feel so moved to donate to support future salons, future development, so that we can continue to pay artists. Some of our work is subsidized by grants, but that certainly does not cover everything, so we really rely on our community for that financial support. There are other QR codes in the back here. There's still this one on the table if you didn't get a chance to donate and you would like to. Absolutely no pressure. There are many other ways to support that aren't financial. Coming to events and public programming that we have. We have a couple of things that you can join us for coming up really soon. I mentioned at the top our this year's residency, Return to Abya Yala. We will actually be in residence here again at City Space for a week, thanks to City Space's Pay It Forward program. Thank you, City Space.
And I just want to add, for those of you who don't know, this is a pilot program that City Space is doing that's basically offering local artists a residency, like free space to rehearse, plus a stipend to create programming, and there's 5 artists that will be in residence here between May and June, and this is a program they hope to continue. So if you are an artist, like keep on the lookout for future Pay It Forward programs.
So part of our residency here in Pay It Forward is a public presentation, which will be happening on May 21st. We don't have the time just yet, what time we'll be presenting, but keep an eye on our website, playincubation.org. We will be putting tons of information up there and on our social media as well, which is just at Incubation Collective, both on Facebook and on Instagram. So we hope you'll join us on the 21st. Then skip ahead to June for our summer salon, which is June 27th. 29th, yeah. June 29th at Gateway City Arts in Holyoke, again from 7:30 to 9:30. We still have room for more presenters, so if you have a work in progress that you would like to showcase like you saw tonight, perhaps receive feedback. You don't have to, it's optional. Get in touch. There you can submit on our website, on our salon page. You may have seen that when you were finding out about tonight. So that's June 29th. Those are and we'll be having a salon in the fall as well, which we don't have the date for yet. And at our June 29th salon, there will be another public presentation of our residency. So you'll kind of get to follow along as it grows. And then in, I want to say probably around September or October, we'll do yet another public showing of that work in progress, and then a final presentation in December. We have no idea what any of that is going to look like because this is very much a work in progress. It's developing as we go. We've received it in a super raw form, pretty much just an outline. And so there's a lot of work that's going into that, and we really hope you'll join us and come along and watch each step as we go along. And we're very excited to be able to present several public opportunities so you can be a part of that process too. So that's one really big way to give support. Another way is to tell your friends and colleagues. Please spread the word about the work we're doing to all the artists, local artists that you know, and just art supporters, people who enjoy, who maybe don't even know that they're theater goers yet, because what we do here is very different than going to see produced work, and I think it appeals to a lot of people who don't realize they might be interested in theater. To kind of get in on the ground floor of something and be amongst the first people to see something on its feet is incredibly exciting, whether you're a theater person or not. So please, please, please spread the word. And you can always direct people towards our website, again, playincubation.org. There's tons of information on there. The other way you can get involved is as an artist yourself. As I said, you certainly can send us content for salons, but also if you are an actor, director, dramaturg, and want to be more hands-on with these pieces behind the scenes, on our website there's a whole page dedicated to you all, to artists who would like to join our collective. So please take some time to look through all of that. And we, as I said at the top, we're going to stick around. So if you have, I know I'm throwing a ton of stuff at you, so if you have questions about any of it, please feel free to come ask us, or you can send us a message through our website, get into social media, whatever. Just get in touch. We're always happy to talk with people about the work that's happening with PIC.
One final plug is that we're doing programs for kids for the first time this summer. Rachel and I are coordinating it, and the camp is being run by two amazing arts educators. It's happening in August for kids ages 7 to 11. So if you have kids, work with kids, know kids, there's still spaces available in this like super amazing creative arts program, and we hope to be doing more programming for kids.
And the workshop.
Oh, and we're having a digital devising workshop over Zoom. Nicole Orbona, who's a Berkshire's based artist, so it's for folks who are interested, really of any disciplines, who are interested in how to create more work digitally and collaborate with more folks. It's going to be a super exciting workshop.
And we're hoping to offer more, we're hoping to continue to offer those Zoom workshops along the way. We had one, what month is it now? It's April. We had one earlier at the beginning of this month. I think that's when it was, with Darcy Parker-Bruce, who was our playwright in residence last year. And we will continue to offer more workshops that way, always via Zoom, so that folks can join from anywhere. So do keep an eye on that as well. I think that's it.
Thank you so much for being here.
Who weren't presenters, and our director, and all the folks that put so much time and energy into getting up on stage tonight. So thank you all.